heart of South Philly. Let's go see what the people have got to say. I'm ready to roll if they need me.
Now listen here, Dutch. The Mets and the Cowboys, they suck.
1, 2, 3, go Birds! Go Birds! Here we go, 302BIRDS, you know stinks. Go Birds!
Get your water ice and soft pretzels ready because you are now tuned into a 302BIRDS podcast experience. Proudly presented by TickPick, Nick's Pizza, El Diablo Burritos, and Klondike Kate's on the heart of Main Street. Let's take it to the show.
What's going on, everybody? Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Well, we'll do the Christmas thing first, but welcome, Eagles Nation, to a very special edition of 302BIRDS. We've got an absolutely spectacular show for you guys tonight. Kicking things off, we'll have Matt Campbell, owner of Midwest Concussion Clinic, joining us for our first segment as a calling guest to discuss Jalen Hurts' concussion, what that means for Eagles. After that, we'll be breaking down the Birds' tough 36-33 loss yesterday to the Commanders. To the Commanders. What went wrong? How do we bounce back? And it's not all bad news this show. We'll talk about the Phillies and how their fans can finally celebrate because they finally made a splash in the free agency, bringing home Luzardo. Plus, we'll dive into the Sixers' new stadium, what it means for Philly sports. And, of course, you know, it's rivalry week. It's Cowboys week. We're going to talk about it. So grab some eggnog, rock that Eagles gear, and let's get ready to get into it. Ashley, how you doing tonight?
I am great. How are you?
I'm feeling, very festive, very merry. That was the adjective I was looking for. Very festive, very ready to get into it and get the fat man out and ready to go because tell him I want another one of these this year. But that's a story for another day.
We'll see.
No Jack or KJ as of now. I don't know if they'll be popping in later, but I'm going to go ahead and hit Jack's segment without him. Screw him.
What do I want when I'm in the state of Delaware? Of course, El Diablo Burritos. Customer service always is serving your food with a smile on their face, asking how your day is, but their food is phenomenal as well. Their burritos are out of this world, one of the best burritos in town. Their queso is phenomenal. Their burrito bowls are amazing as well. When you're in and around Delaware, stop by your local El Diablo Burritos and tell them that 302BIRDS sent you. God bless, go Birds.
So I want to take a second to introduce our guest here. Matt, the owner of the Midwest Concussion Clinic, was gracious enough to bless us with his time. And how you doing tonight, Matt?
Man, I'm great. I appreciate you having me. Merry Christmas, guys.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you, too. We appreciate you joining us. For those of you guys who don't know, was talking about it briefly with Matt before the show. He's going to kind of be our concussion expert moving forward. So if we turn this thing into the next Barstool Sports, you guys are in very good hands. I'm just saying, this guy knows his stuff. And backstage, we were cutting it up. He's also a Colts fan. He told us he's a hardball guy. We love that. I know that we do have some hardball relatives out there that listen to the show. So you guys will be happy about that. But before we get into it, Matt, I'm just going to flash this clip up, and I'll let you take it right after that. Tell me what you see with this concussion. Let's show the audience.
Down to the 20 he goes. You got
it's one of those things that, first of all, we want to make sure that, he's healthy. We wish him the best moving forward, make sure everything recovers well. It's really easy kind of on my end to sit here and say, hey, Monday morning quarterback or Monday evening quarterback, if you will, to sit here and say, hey, look, there are a couple things here that we're worried about kind of right off the bat. The first one is he takes the hit to the back of the head. So the hit kind of up on that top left side of his head with the helmet to helmet hit. It's a little concerning, but what more we're looking at is kind of how he hits his head on the ground, right? We all know that, the ground's not soft. It doesn't give the way we all want it to. So when you take a hit to the back of the head and then you kind of bounce your head off the ground, we call those two things a coup and contra coup injury. So there's an injury to one side, it bounces and hits the other. It's really hard to speculate on whether he had a concussion or not. I don't know if he's come out and been formally diagnosed with one or not, but what we look at is kind of a couple of things. Number one, he pops right back up, right? He gives the thumbs up. He kind of gives that, looking over at the official, you give the thumbs up. Most athletes are conditioned to do that, right? You look at it as an athlete, the first thing that happens when anybody falls down in any sport at any level is, get up, you're fine. When somebody hits their head like that, there's a massive surge of adrenaline that goes on. You think about if you fall down the stairs, right? You slip and fall and you get that you get hot, you get sweaty. It's like, woo, man, you start looking around going, hey, did anybody see me almost fall down the stairs over here? The same thing kind of happens when you get hit like that. So when you see something like that, we see it a lot in the NFL. Guys will pop back up, they'll be fine. And all of a sudden they end up in that, that blue tent that everybody's afraid of. The whole goal of that blue tent is to do a pretty, it should be thorough, but a pretty quick kind of assessment on what the cognitive function is, right? Can you tell me where you are? Can you tell me what your name is? And then, there was obviously enough of a concern for them to hold him out the rest of the game, which we all know as NFL fans, that's not necessarily always what happens. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's hard on the sports medicine side to assess a concussion in a game environment, right? You're hoping that the athlete's telling you the truth. You're hoping that they're sitting here saying, hey, man, I don't feel good. I get a headache. I get nauseous. But we also have to understand that professional sports are a business, right? If the business isn't open, they don't get paid, right? So if they don't play, they don't get paid. So it's, the couple things with the Jalen Hurts that we're looking at is, number one, he popped right back up. Usually that's a pretty good sign that, he's feeling okay. But at the end of the day, concussion recovery comes from how healthy the person was beforehand. Right? If you look at the NFL players and how they can bounce back so much faster than, let's say, the middle-aged man that gets into a car accident, or the weekend warrior that falls and hits their head playing a basketball game, since I'm an Indiana guy, they don't recover and bounce back as fast because they don't have the same health level going into it.
Yeah.
I have one question for you too, Matt, and this is Jack, by the way. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah,
we appreciate you too. But Jack has had a lot of concussions, actually, so I know he can speak on this topic. I should show you some of the videos we have of Jack running into punching bag machines, headbutting them, everything not to do, right? Yeah. But, when you saw it, that thumbs up to me as like an amateur fan. Is there any concern there that, like you said, that could be faking it? What was your inside look? Because some people said that he looked dazed. To me, he looked completely with it when he gave that thumbs up. And I was like, okay, he's all right.
And that's a general reaction that you're going to see from most people, right? Obviously, the really bad ones. We all kind of, as NFL fans, know what happened to Tua Tagovailoa a couple of years ago. We kind of see what happens in the terms of a really bad instance where they go through that what we call a fencing or a posturing response, right? Where their arms go out, they can't control their body movements. They lay down on the turf for a long time. But most concussions occur without a loss of consciousness, without anything that goes on, right? Less than 5% of the concussions overall actually lose consciousness. So we see people all the time. They bounce up, they pop right back up. That thumbs up, could it mean that he feels okay? It could. Between you and me, I would do the same thing, right? I'm like, hey, man, I'm doing great. And obviously, I know better. And, the hardest thing in the world to do is take an athlete out of the game. But when we start looking at kind of that pop up, that thumbs up, I wouldn't read too much into it, right? You want your quarterback to be the guy that's like, hey, man, everything's cool. I'm great. You hate to see the quarterback get hit. You hate to see your field general go out, your leadership go out. So even if he knows, like, hey, man, something's not right, you give the thumbs up, you come off the field, and it's like, hey, man, then we'll take the rest of it going out, right? Again, I kind of go back to the basketball side, right? When Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles a couple of years ago, you're going through, he limps to the free throw line, takes his free throw line, and everybody's like, man, look at the strength of that guy. He knew right away there was a problem, right? Jalen knows right away if something's causing an issue or not. And it's one of those issues where we hope that he bounces back quickly, and we hope that there wasn't one diagnosed and it was just, hey, let's err on the side of caution.
I will say he did not look great when he started. Like when he first got up, he looked a little. I was concerned. I was a little like, okay, you don't look quite steady enough. And then obviously he did try. I knew right away as soon as the independent neurotrauma consultant walked back to the sidelines without him, I was like, he is toast.
Yep.
They don't just come back to the fields without the quarterback just because.
Correct. And we want that. We want that, right? As a Phillies fan, you want to win a lot of games, but let's talk long term, right? We're kind of winding down towards the end of the season. Yeah, do you want to win every game on your schedule? Absolutely. Do you want a healthy Jalen Hurts for the playoffs? 100%. 100%. To be perfectly honest with you, I have no idea who the backup quarterback is at Philly. I'm sure he's a great quarterback. Not the same as Jalen Hurts. Coming as an Anthony Richardson, he's our quarterback for the Colts, but we have Joe Flacco, who's a great option, but he's not the same guy, right? Two totally different styles. And you have an offense built around one, and then you're trying to change it for the other. I would much rather err on the side of caution, right? Take away the fact that I work in injuries and I know how dangerous playing with a head injury can be. I know that, if you're playing with a concussion, you're one hit away from a career-ending issue like that. We talked about Tua a little bit. I am on the side that he should have retired. Just personally, I am on the side of, hey, man, it's not worth it anymore. But I 100% understand why he is still playing the game. I do. I totally get it. I go to work every day just like he goes to work every day, right? But when we look at like erring on the side of caution, I would much rather my quarterback be healthy for that week, that playoffs, the wild card game, whatever it ends up being. I want to go in as close to 100% as I can get, which is not close in the NFL.
So I guess that actually would follow up. My last question for you here, Matt. If you were the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles with your background in sports medicine and your background with concussions, what would you do this week decision-wise with Jalen Hurts?
Again, my background in the sports medicine and concussion world, I'm going to sit him, right? But it's a totally different world, right? Being in the professional basketball world back in the past, they are businesses. They are not necessarily people, right? You want business decisions. Jalen Hurts is a multi-million-dollar business asset. If he plays the game, you get more fans to come in. If he doesn't, Philly's a little different. You guys are diehard everything Phillies. So you're going to fill the stadium no matter what, right? You're going to fill the stadium whether Jalen playing or not, right? But you look at like ticket sales, you look at all these type of things, you lose money when your best players are not playing, right? And then you tie into the fact that as a head coach, he is coaching for his job. Every game he comes out on the field, if they don't win like they're supposed to, he has to hear it from the media. He has to hear it from you guys every day. Like, oh, how did we not beat the Commanders? We're going to talk about everything bad that happened. Some games you just lose, right? So it's easy from the sports medicine side of things that says, hey, man, I would always err on the side of caution as a brain. We talk about with our patients all the time, like, man, you can get new knees and new ankles and new elbows. Like you can get new heart and lungs. It's kind of harder to get those things, but you can get them. But at the end of the day, the brain's the only thing you have to have all the way through to the very end. So I would always err on the side of caution. It's like, hey, man, if there's even a question, sit out. But that's also why the independent side of things, the independent neuro consultant, that's why they go through all of those independent objective tests, is because if he can pass those, there's no reason for me to say he can't play. Now, between you and me, how in-depth are those? They should be and are definitely very in-depth, and it's impossible to beat those unless you're 100% healthy. But they're doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. At the end of the day, it's hard to keep an athlete from playing when a lot of the injury is subjective, right? I can MRI, I can X-ray, I can CT scan. Nothing's going to show up. Okay, it's not going to show up on imaging. So basically, I have to take the athlete's word for how they're feeling and prove otherwise, which can be really, really, really hard to do.
Yeah. I'm hoping. You see the comments in here. I love Shardy, our Philly fan. He's like, if he's healthy, get in there, play him. That's that Philly attitude. I love it.
For sure. Like if he is healthy, you get him in, right? You gotta keep him in because you want to keep rhythm. You want to keep all these things, right? As a fan, I would want him to play. Absolutely. 100%. As somebody on the medical side, my whole goal is long-term health, not necessarily, hey, can we win this Sunday?
Well said. Well said. Matt, I appreciate you for joining us. Please let the people know where they can find you too.
Yeah, man. Hey, we're on all the old social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever it is now. We are at MW Concussion. Going to transition to a totally virtual concussion clinic. So, if you got some information, got some questions, shoot them out to me. I'm very interactive. I love doing stuff like this, man. I love coming out and just trying to spread some awareness on the concussion world.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll definitely hit you up. You are honorary expert now on concussions, and I'm sure that guy down there, now that you do it online, will probably have a couple more throughout his lifetime if I know him pretty well.
Reach out, man. I got you. I'll take care of you, all right?
Sounds
Thank
good.
you, Matt. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
All right,
Matt.
guys. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Thanks for having me.
Merry Christmas, man. That's awesome, guys. That's the power of Instagram. That gentleman I met on Instagram, I said, hey, I need a concussion expert. He said, let's do it. So follow him on Instagram. Even if you guys are Eagles fans, it would mean a lot to me. But let's get into our next segment. We're talking about the fighting.
Time for Phillies talk with Ballpark Tommy. Finger stitch.
All right, so the Philadelphia Phillies finally got some action. It feels like it's been a long time. I know everybody in the Phillies group chat has been really upset about it, and I get it. The Phillies have pretty much let down everyone in the city with what they've done. Today, they go out and get another pitcher. They get the Peruvian-born Luzardo, who represented Venezuela in the Baseball Classic a couple years ago. I just keep finding it interesting that this team has so many ties to Venezuelans. They really like their Venezuelans on the team, as you guys know, Ranger and a few others. But he played for the A's from 2019 to 2021, then the Marlins from 2021 to this year, where he is now a Philadelphia Philly. In his career, he's 26-34. He has an ERA of 4.29. A career, 559 strikeouts, and he had Tommy John surgery in 2016. So this was a trade between the Phillies and the Marlins where they got McIntosh and Luzardo for Caba and Boyd. So how are we feeling about the Phillies going and getting some more much-needed pitching power?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know much about him, but definitely we have struggled with not having arms in the bullpen, and adding to that arsenal is huge for us. It's somebody we may this is I mean, like Shari said, he killed the Phillies and now he's playing for us. So, this is a good addition to the team. That's all I got to say.
I think that we are going to be phasing or getting rid of Walker. That's what this signing meant to me. This is, again, one of those now or never signings. We are kind of in deep crap in terms of our bullpen and in the fact that we are not able to capitalize in the postseason as we should be able to. Dave also made an announcement today that it seems like Andrew Painter may start making some appearances in July. So we're moving in the pitching end. So I'm hopeful that we can make a couple more moves. I don't know that we will, but I'm cautiously optimistic about this one. That's what I'll say here.
Hey, if Shardy's behind it, I'm behind it. I'll leave it at that. I don't know much about him either. I pretty much just laid out all the entire Wikipedia article for you guys in my take, but besides that, that's pretty much all I got. Unfortunately, our other expert isn't here for the...
You are now listening to KJ's Court Sixers Talk presented by the Sleeper app.
If you guys haven't, please download the Sleeper app. They have been a phenomenal sponsor of our podcast all football season, and it's the best place to play fantasy football, fantasy basketball, no matter what it is. Download the Sleeper app today. KJ's not here, so I'll go ahead and take it first, but Sixers Stadium was approved, and there's a lot that's going on with it, from riots and, people upset, what's protesting was the word that I was looking for, to people just upset on social media. Doesn't make any sense. It's going to basically ruin Chinatown. It's going to ruin the economy down there. It's going to ruin a lot of jobs. I've had a couple people try to tell me in my messages that this is a good thing and that this is going to still make the Sixers more popular. I don't understand. Guys, a majority of the Philadelphia fan base is from South Jersey and Delaware. Guys, let me repeat that again to you. And outside PA, like central Pennsylvania, upwards of Scranton. It goes deep. I'm not saying all of it. Philly is definitely Philly. Don't get me wrong. But a good 40% of the fan base, if not 50, I would argue, is outside of Philadelphia. Same with the Sixers fans, same with the Phillies fans, same with the Flyers, and so on and so forth. So I'll just leave it to Jack, who's also a Sixers fan. Jack, are you ever going to go to a Sixers game again?
Absolutely fucking not. It is complete and utter bullshit that they did this. Cool. If you really wanted to get out of Xfinity, I guess you had to build a new stadium and kind of ruin the whole fan base, because the way they had it kind of mocked up, it's going to be in the heart of the city, not the heart of the city, but in the city. There's not much parking in the city. If you've ever been to a Baltimore Ravens game, an Orioles game, you know how shitty parking is and how there's obviously not many people tailgate for Sixers games. There's a few people that do, but there's no point. This. I'm out on the Sixers. If this is making my blood boil, this is making my hatred for the team even increase. And as we just saw, Embiid got ejected again, pulled a CJGJ for nothing tonight. So I don't know what that's about. But yeah, this is stupid. It's really gonna ruin a lot of business in Chinatown. I know a lot of people who are in that area rely on Chinatown for compensation. So I just think this is going to be. It's what, $3.1 billion, or is it $1.3 billion? Anyway, whatever it is, it's in the billions. I just think it's a waste of money. And yeah, no one's going to want to go to the games. I mean, if they can get a subway stop or wherever so fans can ride it, I guess that works. But other than that, I think this is fucking stupid.
Yep. I mean, I don't have anything more to add except from an outsider's fan perspective living in Chicago. I will literally drive to Milwaukee because I would rather do the extra almost hour drive to not deal with the chaos of Chicago traffic. So Philly is infinitely worse than Chicago. And I would not choose to go to a game either.
I mean, if they make a parking garage or something, maybe that will work out. But other than that, this is just stupid.
Yeah, even with a parking garage, I've heard from a lot of Yankees fans in Philly sports media. People have gone to Yankees games just saying that that's a shit show. They would never want to do it again. There is a beauty to what Philadelphia had with the Philadelphia sports complex and the long tenure that it had, where it stood. Look, I'm not saying that. And I get the Sixers' perspective. They want to have their freedom from the Flyers and Comcast and all of that and what's going on there. They want to be able to say, okay, we're doing our own thing now. We don't need to rely on another team and pay their rent and help make their owners more rich. We need to do our own thing and get our own stadium. The problem is the Sixers and the Flyers arguably don't have enough, in my opinion, of a fan base to justify it. Like when you think about putting in a stadium that big, you're going to need to sell a lot of tickets. Let's see what the Wells Fargo Center number of seats is. 21,000, which is pretty small compared to, I believe Citizens Bank Park is around 40,000 and the Link's like 60,000 off the top of the dome. I might be wrong on the Link.
I know
but
the bank is like 43,000.
Yeah, it's like 42 or 43. It's around there. It's like that weird number. And then the Link, I want to say, is 60,000. So when you look at, okay, I'm going to bring in a 21,000. That's not the biggest, but still, I don't know that I could ever see the Sixers or the Flyers having their own stadium. Maybe that's because of the way we grew up. But this is just going to ruin so many economies. It's going to ruin going to the game for people like me and Jack, people that live in Delaware, that it's like, okay, you know what? It's a Friday night in the spring or in February. Eagles aren't playing. Phillies aren't playing. I'm not doing shit. Why don't we just go watch the Sixers? Screw it. Why not? And this is going to effectively take that out. We'll still watch the Sixers on TV. They're still a Philadelphia team. but we're never going to go to a game again. And when you think about what that means for the Sixers, they need to really weigh this out, because the only way I would ever go to a game would be is if the apartment center had some kind of a hotel that you could stay for the night, and it was like some hotel, motel, Holiday Inn shit. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, we're not going to talk about Penn State in the college football playoff, but I do want to mention they get ready to play Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl Tuesday at 7:30. So get ready for that. Congratulations to all of our Penn State fans out there. Shout out to the Notre Dame fan on the screen too. Mikey D, I know you're listening, and I know you're, of course, excited for the Penn State win. Rome, all of those guys. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the thing that we weren't excited about. Unfortunately, the Eagles win streak was snapped. And I love how Joey, shout out to Joey, one of the world's greatest graphic designers, along with Ashley. This one was creative. The wings got clipped. I'm taking that one, Joe. Clipped. And the win streak's over. Devontae Smith had a crucial drop at the end of the game there. Kenny Pickett overall, I thought, had a solid game. But the Eagles just had self-inflicted wounds and couldn't get the ball in the end zone when they needed to the most. Didn't matter that the turnovers didn't matter that the Commanders, see, I'm calling them the turnovers, that's their fucking name, because that was what they were on Sunday. Doesn't matter that the Commanders had 5 turnovers. They still won the game on a last-second buzzer beater catch. It was demoralizing. As a fan, it's frustrating. As Eagles fans, I mean, where do we go from here? Well, the only way is up. They're going to get better from this, and I will say this, Eagles fans. You needed to get a loss out now. You needed to feel what it's like to lose before the playoffs so that you're not overly confident and cocky going in. I'm glad that it happened right now, too. It's like perfect timing. December 22nd, December 23rd, really humble you right before you get into the last 2-3 weeks into the playoffs. And I'll say this before I finish. Being a 2 seed may not be as bad as a thing. Because thinking about it, the Lions are probably going to get that 1 seed, I'm thinking, if not the Vikings. I'm saying this. If we don't have to go to Detroit for the NFC Championship, we're good. We can win anywhere else but Detroit. Detroit's the only place that I'm a little bit nervous to having to go to play for the NFC Championship. If we went to Minnesota, I actually think we win that game. I'm still not nervous about it. If we go anywhere else in the NFC Championship, well, besides Minnesota and Detroit, guess what? The beautiful part is they'd be playing at our stadium. So getting a number 2 seed, I don't think is bad as it seems. How are you guys feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's a tough loss. It's not the end of the world. I mean, we're still, 12-3? 12, what is it? 13-3, whatever it is. And
12-3, yeah.
12-3. And the Commanders are a good team. What really pisses me off is, okay, you get a turnover, which should have sealed the deal. And then you have a crucial drop. And Devontae Smith doesn't usually drop a lot. And he had no one around him. So I don't know what, if it was rigged, he made some money off of that or what. But, I mean, those key, important plays really, the little things matter. And we couldn't do the little things towards the end of the game. And, Kenny Pickett, okay, he played decently well. I mean, if you watch the game and you saw his passes, they were kind of on the back shoulder. They weren't the greatest passes, but that ball to Devontae Smith was just like on a rope, and he should have caught that. And Jaden Daniels, got to give credit where credit's due. He is a great back. I mean, we played him when he had a bruised rib, which, we weren't really – which doesn't make sense because Lamar Jackson's a better rusher than Jaden Daniels, but I guess we didn't really watch film that well. Not too worried. And I think the 2 seed is great because we are guaranteed to have all home games but the divisional championship, which is huge for us. So, this game against the Cowboys, they're already out of the playoffs. Doesn't really matter, but I would like to get that win. And against the Giants, the last game of the season, I was listening to WIP today, and they were saying, why don't you just lose that game? Because right now the Giants are the number 1 seed overall to get the first draft pick overall. So if we let them win, not let them win, but make it convincing, then they'll get the 7th seed. So their whole future would be screwed if we lose. So I mean, that's all I gotta say. It sucks, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Was anyone else kind of relieved that they lost, or was that just me?
Yeah,
So,
I was relieved.
I mean, when you're looking at the Lions' schedule in particular, right? They played the Bears. We all know how that one was going to go down. They play the Packers this upcoming weekend. That one could go either way. And then they play the Lions, right? If the two teams did not play each other, I would have been a little bit more like, okay, the number 1 seed is very feasible. But asking the Lions to lose one of these two games where obviously they crushed the Bears, and then I really think they're going to kind of beat the Packers around too. I did not want us to, I've said this since like the 3rd or 4th win that we had. I did not want them riding into the playoffs on like a 14-game win streak. Like that's not, the Eagles don't do well when we just like, when everything goes right, we will then play down to our opponents. That's just how it works. Honestly, my biggest concern is some of the injuries that came up. Jalen honestly is not on the top of my list. Jordan Davis going down the way that he did, as well as Josh Sweat. And there's been nothing. I just looked. Nothing about either of them today. So this is not the time for us to get injured. So I wasn't overly upset. I was like, okay, if this is the game that we need to lose, or that we obviously did lose, it's fine. I think I would rather lose this week than next week against the Cowboys, right? This is a divisional gauntlet that we have. It's literally 3 back-to-back division games. That does not happen super often. And it's brutal for it to happen at the end of the season, but it is what it is.
And I think that the thing, people laugh when you say it's a divisional gauntlet of the NFC East. I know Chaos Chris, shout out to my guy Chris on Sippin' Sports, said this is a laughable gauntlet. And I get what he's saying because the NFC East is so bad. But what fans also need to take with a grain of salt, I'll say, is this division hasn't had a repeat winner since X year. You know what I mean? Like it's a notoriously competitive division that's gritty. You don't find out who the winner is until week 16, week 17, week 18, whatever it is that year. So it's going to be interesting. The one thing I'll say too, Ashley kind of said it, it's not the ideal time for injuries. I agree with that. I was listening to Lane Johnson on the Greenlight podcast for Chris Long today, and they were kind of just talking about injuries and being aware and all that stuff. And the one point that I really took away was Lane said, yeah, it sucks playing with injuries this time of the year. It's really tough, not fun. But you got to keep in mind the guys on the other side are playing the same game as you. So they also have to deal with the injuries, with the cold weather, with fingers hurt. And he was basically talking about how Mekhi Becton's whole hand and all of his fingers are messed up. But what a blessing he's been. So I know that this was a tough loss for us Eagles fans, but there are still some positives ahead. And one of them being a chance at a historic record. Sorry. A chance at sorry. Gotta make sure I actually give that what it's worth. Sorry, guys. Let me get the graphic up first. I spent a lot of time on this thermometer that makes you feel like you're in middle school. For those on Spotify that can't see it, well, fuck off. Go look on our YouTube. You should really appreciate it. But I spent a lot of time on this thermometer that reminds you of a middle school fundraiser. And everyone, history could be made right in front of you. Saquon Barkley could get the torch passed from Eric Dickerson and break the NFL's all-time rushing leading record. He's got to beat 2,105 yards. He's currently at 1,838. That's 87% of the way through. He's got 2 games left. He needs 268 yards to do it. That would be an average of 134 yards a game. With how the seasons went, that's not impossible. I personally think he's going to do it. I think he's going to do it against the Giants. I think we're all going to be sitting here laughing at Giants fans. You know, that motion. It's going to be that whole vibe, but laughing at them because they gave up the NFL's MVP. You keep in mind, it's not the most valuable quarterback. That's what they should just call the award now in the NFL. It's the most valuable player. And if you want to talk about the most valuable player on any team right now, it's got to be Saquon Barkley. When he's there, the team is different. and what he's brought to this offense. I'm not saying that this offensive line isn't elite. They're elite, but they said it yesterday before the game. He's hitting the offensive line with his fastest run time, hitting that line of scrimmage ever, like miles per hour wise. I don't know what that stat's called, but basically when he hits the line of scrimmage, it's his fastest of his career. Why? Well, he's playing against an offensive line that has holes beyond holes. So the game is easier for him right now, but oh my God, would it be cool to see in his first season, him able to do this. I think if they would have beat the Commanders, they wouldn't have went for this record. But because they're still going to be playing these two games going for that one seed, they still will. I know how Nick Sirianni works. I think it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cool for him to get it, but honestly, I don't really care because my big present on Christmas morning that I want is this team to have a successful playoff run and make it to the big game because it's cool and all to get this, break this record, but at the same time, it's like you gotta conserve his energy and his play, his wear and tear, and utilize him as much as you can in the playoffs because we got 2 games which don't really matter, and I don't want him to get injured. Knock on wood. Second to last game of the season or the last game of the season because he wants to chase this record. So, I mean, it would be cool for him to beat it against his old team, but at the same time, that's not my main concern. My main concern is getting into the postseason and having this team as healthy as they can be. Hopefully, Jalen Hurts gets back to full health. Hopefully, Josh Sweat gets back to full health. And that's all that really matters to me right now.
Just something, I totally agree with what you guys have said. One additional thing that I feel like we need to be looking at when we look at these records is that they play a different number of games now. So my dad is like, if he doesn't get it by the end of the 16th game, yes. Like, it's kind of like a participation trophy, right? They're playing more games than they were when these records were originally established. Again, I think he can do it, but I would rather have Saquon Barkley, who is ready to totally run over people or do backwards hurdles over people in the playoffs, than have this record, personally.
Yeah, he's got to be healthy for the playoffs. That's top priority. But looking at the glass, like it's like 75% of the way full. Who's not to say that he can do it all? We'll just say maybe not. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. I think that this will have to be the question of the week on Spotify. 2 games left, 268 yards out, 134 yards a game on average needed. Do you guys think that Saquon Barkley will beat Eric Dickerson's record? Let us know in the comments. And now moving along to our second to last segment. Once again, he's not here to help us with, of course, his segment, which he was. I know he said, say happy Merry Christmas to everybody, or Merry Christmas to everybody. I don't know why I put a happy in front of that, but
it's time for everyone's favorite segment of the week, the Bronze Birdie, where we select one Eagles player of the week to become the Bronze Birdie. Vote on Twitter right now at 302BIRDS. Vote right now.
So if you guys want to go get in any last minutes and try to change the Bronze Birdie or any way that it looks, you can. Last minute votes right now at 302BIRDS. But our 4 contestants this week were Saquon Barkley with 29 attempts, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Then you had A.J. Brown with 8 receptions, 97 yards, and 1 touchdown. You had Big Play Slay with 3 passes defended, 7 tackles, and 1 tackle for a loss. That's a very productive game. And last but not least, one of the exciting whites, I'm talking about Reed Blankenship. 5 solo tackles, 1 pass defended, and 1 interception. This dude, it just seems like is a ball hawk. The ball goes to him in the right times. 5 turnovers. The ball was definitely spread out, and Reed received it. But guys, can I get a drum roll for our week 16 Bronze Birdie of the week? It's going to be... Oh, I just had him up. It's Reed Blankenship. Reed, congratulations. You earned it this week. Reed has excelled into such a phenomenal player for the Eagles. When he came out of Middle Tennessee College, came out undrafted, didn't really know what he was going to be player-wise. Everybody didn't know. And he has matured and blossomed into such a great free safety for the Eagles, somebody that's aware, somebody that knows how to tackle, somebody that knows how to get to where the ball's going to be. But not all that only. He is a leader in the locker room. If you look at the way that he leads, you look at Cooper DeJean, right? Who's Cooper DeJean always by his side? Reed Blankenship. That says something about their relationship and about the way that he talks to these guys. He leads them. He's liked. So I really am happy that Reed's starting to get appreciation and get his flowers because he definitely deserves it. Congratulations, Reed Blankenship, on the Week 16 Bronze Birdie of the Week.
Yeah, I mean, this man is a beautiful being. He's part of the Exciting Whites, and this man is amazing. I mean, he has 51 solo tackles, 4 interceptions, and 6 pass deflections. He's not having a breakout year, but he's probably playing the best defense other than Quinyon Mitchell on this team. So he's definitely well deserving of it. And all the bullshit that Dennis says, don't listen to him. Doesn't matter what he says. But yeah, I mean, it's this guy, his story is great. He was a walk-on, to the team, wasn't drafted, undrafted. So he kind of forged his own path. And I mean, he's playing at amazing levels right now, and I couldn't be happy for him. And it's what blows my mind is him and CJ have such a strong bond that, is great to have in the backfield. Because they started this when CJ was on the team back in 2000, 2 years ago. So it's nice to have that chemistry on your defense, especially your 2 safeties. But yeah, it is amazing to see this guy performing this way.
Ash, any thoughts on it?
Totally agree with everything you guys have said. He's been a bright spot this season, and it has been super fun to watch him develop and grow. And I'm hopeful that he will come in clutch when we need him for hopefully what will be a long playoff run.
I just hope he's okay healthy-wise. This is where I feel like, okay, if you're a defensive player, look, running back's definitely a violent position too. I'm not going to sit here and act like it isn't. But when you play safety and you're doing the hitting, and you really need those hands to wrap up as well. You need them to grab the ball. I'm not saying you don't. But I want kind of Reed to be sure. The Eagles also have a lot more depth at safety, arguably, than they do. And defensive back as a whole, they can change up their formations. You got one running back. And the running back's also got a chance for a record. So as far as I know, I'd start him. That's me. But getting into our final topic, you guys know, no, we don't have any Dallas fans for you guys this week. We'll probably have some for you next week. I should have hit up Cowboys Chris, but just doing a lot of stuff during Christmas week, so I apologize. But it's Dallas week. It's that time. You guys know. Last time we beat the brakes off these guys. They only put up 6 points on us. We embarrassed them at their own stadium. And this time, these bums have got to come to our house and try to prove it on our turf, which we know that they won't. But the Eagles are going to perform. They're going to show up. They're going to make us proud. And this tailgate is going to be fucking nuts. It's going to be absurd. This is like the last tailgate of the year. Of course, we have the Giants game, but that game is still to be determined. And everybody knows the Cowboys and the Eagles rivalry is one of the best in the NFL. It freaking sucks that they flex this game to 1 o'clock. That really is annoying because it means it's less time for us to tailgate and celebrate for the Kelly Green game, as Dennis is saying. Thank you, D. Appreciate you for joining. But the Eagles, I think, are going to beat the brakes off the Cowboys. This is like their revenge game. This is their get-well game before getting into the playoffs. This is when kind of MLB teams will go out and play inferior teams before the season. Yeah, it's one of them. But guess what? They're in the same league. They just fucking suck that bad. That's why this game got flexed. I want to see them embarrass the Cowboys. I want to see it not even be a close game, and honestly, it should be with the way that the Cowboys are beat up. All respect to the Cowboys when they're healthy. I know we still will fucking bust their balls, but they are an extremely inferior team right now. It's not even close. So the Eagles should win at least, I'd say, by 14 points.
Yeah, I mean, this should be a bloodbath. But again, the games that we have predicted to be bloodbaths in the regular season this season, actually in the previous seasons, tend to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be that close. I think we'll win by 2 touchdowns. But I mean, the Cowboys know they're out of the playoffs, but this is their Super Bowl. Literally, this is their Super Bowl. It has always been the Super Bowl. This is the only game that matters to them. So they will come out guns blazing and try to, kind of ruin our season. Not really, but yeah, this is going to be, if Jalen Hurts is back, you're gonna see a whole different game, because the fact that Jalen Hurts got a little pissed off that the NFL took him off the field last game, he's gonna come out guns blazing and have a great game. So this should be a bloodbath. We should win by at least 3 touchdowns, but more likely 2 touchdowns. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Saquon Barkley can do, what Kenny G can do, because I have a feeling that what's going to happen is they'll probably play their starters the first half, maybe part of the second half, and then put in their bench players. Because again, this game doesn't matter. Neither does the Giants game. So they're trying to conserve their players as best they can. But yeah, we should come out, like we did against the Steelers. Yes, the Steelers, and score in every quarter. Because we haven't done that all season until 2 weeks ago, or not last week, the week before that. So we should definitely be doing that again. That's all I got to say.
I think we're going to get them by 10. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game, a lot of back and forth. I think Cowboys fans are going to be feeling even more confident than normal after we obviously suffered that pretty brutal loss this past week. However, I think the Eagles are going to bounce back, show up when it counts. And because these are the games that, even if they don't technically matter, these are the games that we want to win, because we want to be able to say that we sweep the heck out of them again this season. Well, actually just this season, not again, this season. So yeah, I'm hopeful. Obviously I get sick to my stomach during Dallas games, no matter how well either team is doing.
I'll say this too. The Cowboys seem to be that team that has no business playing well, but plays well. That's what NFC East teams are best at, right? When it's time to spoil the season and be the Grinch, that's basically what these NFC East teams are best at. So could I see a loss to the Cowboys? Yeah, I guess. But it would only be if Jalen Hurts ends up not playing and the spread jumped by 3 points today. Shout out to Shardy. If you guys are keeping an eye on that, the spread jumped 3 points today in the Eagles' favor. So with that being said, I think that Jalen Hurts might end up being okay. And my initial read, I think he should be okay, especially long-term. He should be okay. But maybe like Matt said, maybe be safe rather than sorry. Maybe they will sit him. But they should end up beating this team, and it should at least be by a touchdown with or without Jalen Hurts. Other than that, that's pretty much all I got. Do you guys have anything else? Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to show, and you guys can both comment on this if you can. If not, you guys are more than welcome.
I just dropped the ball. I ain't gonna beat myself up over it. It's life. It's part of the game. And shit, I made all the tough catches there, and then the easy one I had, I dropped. It is what it is. Ain't nobody else fault but mine.
You able to move on from this and obviously not let it weigh down on your shoulders too much?
The game over with. Ain't nothing I can do about it now.
Where you just look it in, or you?
I just dropped the ball. Okay. Ain't no teaching on it. Just catch the ball. It's simple.
So that was audio from Devontae Smith right after the game. And I just wanted to highlight that because in Philadelphia, you guys know, I'm sure a lot of us, myself included, were yelling at Devontae Smith when he dropped that ball yesterday. But we also got to highlight when you do good. And Devontae Smith and all the Eagles players, future, past, present, that is how you handle a post-game interview when you mess up. The maturity on this guy to just handle it. He basically said, look, I fucked up. I can't change the past. I know what I did. There's nothing more than me being better, and I got to be better. That is the best way to handle a post-game interview. I just wanted to highlight that really quick before we wrapped up. Jack, Ash, anything you guys want to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show if that was A.J. Brown oh my God, he would be.
Yeah, right. That's why I wanted to show it.
So
No
that's like
disrespect to AJ, but it's true.
Yeah, but like that's just like the right way. Own up to what you did wrong and try to answer back to it, because don't play this poor me game. Oh, all this bullshit. No, you fucked up. You got to own up to it. You said I'll do better. So I think we see, like you said, Dalton, the maturity of Devontae Smith and how he has developed as a player on the field and off the field. So I really think that is a key thing to note. Because, most players, I think I don't even know what happened. Did Saquon get interviewed when he dropped that ball against the Falcons?
I think he had an answer similar, but we've seen it with Saquon throughout his whole career. And also running backs, I feel like as a whole are more mature than wide receivers, just generalized position.
But yeah, more power to him for kind of owning up to it. I mean, he should have, but that's all I got to say.
Yeah.
That's all we got. Other than that, I want to say Merry Christmas to everybody who tuned in. If you guys haven't and you're checking out the shirt in the background, you guys can go get them right now. They're only $26. Get them while you can. Support the podcast. The Philly Vacation shirts to celebrate Christmas. Want to say Merry Christmas to you guys. Won't say Happy New Year because we'll be back next Monday night, not Wednesday night, Monday night, here to break down whatever happens from that crazy Cowboys tailgate, which we'll all be at. So Dennis will be there. If you guys aren't doing anything, come hang out. It'll be crazy. We'll be in the D lot as of now. Any changes will be announced on our Instagram. Jackson, take us out of here.
Yes, I know. Merry Christmas to everyone. Enjoy time with family. It's important. Make sure Santa gets what you want. And just kind of thank God for your blessings. But yeah, Merry Christmas. And without further ado, I am home alone right now. So I'm probably gonna watch Home Alone 2 tonight. But hey, Josh, it's an outro, not an intro. Hit that motherfucking Merry Christmas outro.
What we got? 302BIRDS, you know, stinks.